Former President of Angola, Jose Eduardo dos Santos, has died. The 79-year-old passed away at a clinic in Barcelona in Spain, where he lived after an illness. Dos Santos came to power 4 years after Angola gained independence from Portugal. He was at the helm for 4 decades. Let's discuss his legacy now quickly with Dr. Kingsley Makhubela from Risk Recon. Dr. Makhubela, good afternoon, and thank you very much for your time. You yourself, a leader in your own right, having been an ambassador to many African countries and the rest of the world. What are your thoughts when you heard the news of the passing today of Jose Eduardo dos Santos?
Well, our prayers and sympathy really goes to President Jose Eduardo dos Santos' family, to the people of Angola. We would like to remember Jose Eduardo dos Santos as a stalwart who really supported the liberation struggle in Southern Africa. He took over the helms of Angola at a very early age when Agostinho Neto passed on in 1979. I think he was at the age of 34 years old when he became president of Angola. But he's been a staunch supporter of the liberation struggle. And we are where we are, not only ourselves, SWAPO, people of Zimbabwe and so on, because of the support that we received from people like Jose Eduardo dos Santos in Angola, Lopoda Nascimento, and other senior leaders of the MPLA.
Yeah, I mean, he came to power in September 79 after the death, as you've said, of Agostinho Neto, who also died of cancer. I understand dos Santos has also been battling cancer for many years, the prolonged illness that has taken him away. But he was also known as the architect of peace at some point in Angola. This quietly spoken man who engendered these agreements with the UNITAs following a long, drawn-out civil war.
You know, Bretton, I have had the privilege to have met him in the company of senior ANC leaders in the past. The man had a great deal of respect for people like Oliver Tambo. I mean, he treated Oliver Tambo like a head of state. And he really provided all the necessary support to the liberation struggle, particularly the ANC. And he really depended a lot on the guidance of elders like Oliver Tambo. And I mean, I've seen the man, how he revered our revolution. And he was under tremendous pressure by the apartheid government. Attacks were going on in the South and so on. But he stood very firm to support our liberation struggle. And I think we are where we are thanks to people like Jose Eduardo dos Santos, Lopoda Nascimento, as I said, and other senior leaders in the MPLA.
Yeah. And there were issues after he stepped down and João Lourenço, the new president, took over, when he started literally like turning against Jose Eduardo dos Santos with all kinds of allegations of corruption, including arresting the son of Eduardo dos Santos.
Bratan, you know, politicians, we mean different to different people. And I think that's why ourselves would really like to look at the legacy of Jose Eduardo dos Santos from the role that he played as an internationalist, as a Pan-Africanist. And by the time he passed on, we had learned that there's a rapprochement between President Lourenço and President dos Santos to try to bury the hatches of what they've been going through in the past. So we're really glad that he passed on after having started the process of rapprochement within the MPLA, which is quite normal because he's been in power for quite a long time. And some of the allegations that are made against him and so on, in as far as I'm concerned, haven't been tested in any court of law. But I would not like to look at Santos from those kind of things. I really like to look at him from a perspective of a Pan-Africanist, how he contributed to the liberation struggle and how he contributed to building what we enjoy here in South Africa now.
Yeah, he was the president for 38 years, one of the longest reigns, and he managed with little fuss to step back when he resigned as president by himself, leading up, opening up the way to the today government, and having described himself as an accidental president. Remember, I recall that in 1979, when MPLA was looking for a successor to Neto, and this name popped up, everybody asked, who is Jose Eduardo dos Santos? He seemed to have been considered a weak candidate, but He came on and he stayed in power for 38 years and left with little fuss, unlike some other leaders in Africa who stayed for too long in power and didn't want to leave power.
He was actually not even an anointed president. There were senior leaders within the MPLA. As I said, there were people like Dino Matros and so on who were there, Antonio Pedale, who were very senior in terms of the hierarchy in the MPLA. But he came up, he was a choice that was taken by the MPLA Politburo on the basis of his firmness and his credential in the struggle. He was an engineer, an oil engineer, as you know, and he was quite content, even within the MPLA, to continue participating within building the economy of Angola. But when the duty call came to become president of Angola, he responded to the call, and he did very well. You remember at the same time, Raden, there were challenges between SWAPO and the MPLA, because SWAPO supported at that time was in line with UNITA. It was O.R. Tambo who went really to convince the MPLA leadership to support SWAPO. And people like Jose Eduardo dos Santos, they really understood the need to reach out to SWAPO and to work with SWAPO for the liberation of the sub-Saharan Africa. Remember, NATO said Angola is a firm trench of the revolution in Africa. Jose Eduardo dos Santos gave effect to that cliche that all of us, as young people in Angola, when we went that time, kept on reciting, that Angola es firme trinchera da revolução in Africa. But he gave effect to that. And we're very glad that he really contributed immensely for the liberation of Southern Africa, not only for South Africa.
Yeah, Angola è una trinchera firme per la libertação di Africa. Thank you very much for reminding us as we look back at the lives and times of the now late former president of Angola, Jose Eduardo dos Santos. That was Dr. Kingsley Makhubela, who happened to have met the late Angolan president sometime in the past.